electronic lecture is directed to third year Department of English. In the last few lectures, we saw how the conspirators weaved the thread of their conspiracy and how they put their plan into action and ended up assassinating Caesar. In today's lecture, we focus on the aftermath of Caesar's assassination, and especially we are going to concentrate on two orations delivered to the public by Brutus and Antony. So in the beginning of scene 2 from Act 3, we see that Brutus ascends the pulpit to justify the act of assassinating Caesar because it was too brutal for the public and it caused a lot of tumult and turmoil. So let's see how Brutus defends his action. If there be any in this assembly, any dear friend of Caesar's, to whom I say that Brutus's love to Caesar was no less than his, if then that friend demand why Brutus rose against Caesar, this is my answer. Not that I loved Caesar less, but that I love Rome more. Now we see that Brutus admits that he loves Caesar no less than any other Roman citizen, because he sees those qualities in Caesar that other people see as well. But here we can put our finger on a kind of mental agony, because Brutus has been through this imbalance inside of him. He loves Caesar and he loves Rome at the same time. So how can he reconcile this contradiction inside of himself? Does he have to choose Caesar over Rome or Rome over Caesar? Now this is the first hint of Brutus trying to portray himself as a patriot. A patriot is a person that loves his country more than any other thing. Now, Brutus tries to communicate the message that he has been through this mental agony and that he has to choose the less of two evils. The less of two evils. This is an idiom. You can check it out on the web. So the totalitarian regiment that is represented by Caesar was a danger to the freedom of the Roman citizens and to Rome in general. So he has to choose the less of two evils. Now, killing Caesar is the less of these two evils because there's a dangerous consequence for choosing Caesar over Rome. Also, Brutus tries to communicate the fact that he is not against Caesar as a soul or as a human being, but he is against the ambition that Caesar represents. He is against Caesar's ambition, not against Caesar as a human being. Notice these two lines. Caesar were living and die all slaves, then that Caesar were dead to live all free men. So Brutus sees Caesar as a danger to the freedom and liberation of Rome, so he has to eliminate it. And by eliminating Caesar, he portrays himself as a patriot. Like, he tries to communicate the message that I did that for all of you, and the least that you can do to somebody like me is to consent to my act, no matter how brutal and horrible it is. The other important point in Brutus's oration is his attempt to communicate this belief that Caesar, Brutus, and any other Roman citizen is alike when it comes to the freedom and liberation of Rome. So if one day Brutus acts like Caesar did, they have all the right to be Brutus and kill him as brutally as he killed Caesar. Notice these two lines. I have done no more to Caesar than you shall do to Brutus. And people cry in agreement after delivering his oration, they agreed with him for a little while until their agreement starts to fade away with the oration of Antony. In the previous lecture, we said that after the assassination of Caesar, Mark Antony came in and he gave his loyalty to the conspirators, especially Brutus. But today we see a different and contradicting standpoint adopted by Mark Antony. So now, after Brutus is done with his oration, Mark Antony ascends the pulpit and starts speaking his mind about the whole assassination. First of all, Mark Antony took people by surprise because, as I said, he gave his loyalty to Brutus. Now that Caesar is dead, you have my fidelity and loyalty. Mark Antony starts to attack the conspirators, but in a very clever way. He does not communicate his hatred to the conspirators plainly by using particular linguistic expressions that are plain and direct. On the contrary, he utilizes those psychological tactics that politicians and statesmen usually use to stir the public opinion. So Mark Antony is really clever in his oration. He stirred the people. He makes a riot without actually attacking them directly. So let's see how he defends Caesar. First of all, he starts to defend Caesar by what? By giving a contradicting view to the idea that Caesar is ambitious, and this is the main point in Brutus's oration. Now, Mark Antony contradicting everything that has been said by Brutus. First of all, you see that I have highlighted it with yellow. He begins with defending his wars as the prices of his wars, especially the ransoms of the captives, helped with reviving the financial situation of Rome. Mark Antony here tries to communicate that when Caesar went to the desert and he was leading battles abroad, he didn't do that to satisfy a desire or a need inside of him, but he did all of that to revive Rome financially, to make Rome thrive as a civilization by profiting from those wars, because, as you know, war is a business, and apparently it has been a business from as long as Caesar was an emperor. So when he was leading wars and battles abroad, he didn't do that to just to satisfy any desire inside of him, but he did all of that to make Rome thrive. Notice these two lines. He hath brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffers full. Now, this is the first reason that has been given by Mark Antony to contradict the idea that Caesar was ambitious. Let's see what the other reason. Now, Antony uses a clever manipulation tactic by showing the humane side of Caesar, the part of Caesar that sympathizes with the poor. Brutus also says that Caesar was not oblivious to all the suffering and strife that people has been going through during his reign, but he was actually clever enough, not clever, but he was actually fair enough to feel the poor. He was doing them justice at least by feeling their suffering. Notice this line: when that boy has cried, Caesar hath wept. The third reason that is given by Mark Antony is the fact that Caesar does not really want or did not want to reign Rome. Mark Antony here tries to say that Caesar was not the type of leader that is power-loving, or he is not a power-loving individual. An evidence to support that is on Act 1, Scene 2, when people chanted no to Caesar, when Mark Antony presented him the throne to the Roman Empire. This is a groundbreaking evidence that Caesar didn't want to reign, didn't want to rule, but he was actually, then after this incident, was forced to take the lead. So this evidence proves that he is not power-loving, he is not authoritarian, and he is actually not a dictator. Now notice those two lines. I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? We continue on part 2 of this electronic lecture.